Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to a special edition of Flosstube where I'm going to talk about my 2022 finishes. My name is Jessie, and this is mislaidpages. My pronouns are they, them, and she, her. And I'm a queer and non-binary crafter, multi-craftual person, and small business owner, and the cat is sitting on my information. I am into cross stitching and knitting and a little bit of diamond painting. I do lots of different crafts, and I do have an online needlework shop, mislaidpages.com, and I hand dye my own fabrics as well as sell charts and silks and things like that. So I'm into a lot of things. I also have a day job. So if you're new here, welcome. It's nice to meet you. If you're returning, welcome back. Happy to see you. It's been a minute since I had a regular Flosstube video. That will be coming at some point in the next couple of weeks. But today we're going to talk about the cross stitch finishes. Actually, we're going to talk about all of the finishes that I had in 22, which does include a few knitting finishes that I'm pretty proud of. But I have quite a few, so you might want to buckle in. Y'all who have been here for a while, you know that I like to chat. You know that I like to talk, so it's going to take a few minutes because I have more than I expected. And I'm going to tell you about all the things. So I have my cheat sheet here. I've actually written down all of the finishes, the chart name or the pattern names, and the supplies and all the things. So if it seems really impressive that I'm remembering all the things, it's not that I'm remembering them, it's that I have them written down. So should we get into it? Make sure you have something to sip on. Make sure that you're comfy because this is going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute. So let's get into it. First start of 2022, or first finish, I'm sorry. First finish of 2022. This is a Quirky Quaker by Darling and Whimsy, Deanna at Darling and Whimsy. This is Quirky Quaker Puffin. So this I finished on January 1st, 2022. It is on a piece of my own hand-dyed fabric. It's a 28 count, I believe, 28 count opal Lugana. And the light is kind of washing it out. If I hold it back here, it's really pale, but it does have purples and blues. And I've used, I believe, a Bestitch Me silk on that piece. I started this in February for February in 2021, and then finally finished it on January 1st of 2022. So that is finish number 1. And then finish number 2, this is Macintosh Rose. It was the free sal version of Macintosh Rose. This is a peppermint purple design. I believe you can still get this for free on lakesideneedlecraft.co.uk. And I actually used my own, I picked my own flosses for this. So it's black, the black is DMC 310, but the other flosses are from a dyer on Etsy called Yarn Player. And she does these fabulous hand-dyed cotton, like DMC type threads. There's a rainbow and then 3 other variegated colorways that I used from her. And I did them in different kinds of pooling methods. So these I kind of did the stripey method where I went horizontal for this particular part of the flower, so you can see the horizontal striping, and then I went vertical striping for this. And then for the other 2 flowers, I've done some pooling as well as down here. This looks kind of like fried eggs down here. And then all of the black work is done in this rainbow, which is fantastic. I finished this during 24 hours of cross stitch. The first 24 hours of cross stitch weekend in 2022. So I finished this on or around January 31st. I think that weekend was actually like the 24th or 25th of January. And this was my first finish from that weekend. I have started working on this in July 2019. So I started this ages and ages ago. This had been my second oldest whip when I finished it at the beginning of 2022. And I didn't think I was going to finish it because the black work was really tripping me up. I was really just not enjoying it. And then I got into it for 24 hours of cross stitch, and the next thing I knew, I was done. So That is the second finish of the year. The next couple of finishes are all from the same weekend. I got really, I got really on board with some finishes during the first 24 hours of cross stitch weekend. So this is Krampus Klein. Oh, and this is just, I think this is either 16 or 18 count Aida. I'm not sure. It's just plain Aida, undyed, regular Aida. This is Krampus Klein. This is a piece of 32 count opal Lugana that I got from Fortnite Fabrics. I did their something rich. I did their fancy fabric club in 2021, and so this is a piece of 32 count Lugana from them. And Krampus Klein is from D and Kari, so D's 20 Stitches and the Uncanny Kari. It's one of their collaborative designs. Kari does the artwork. Kari Nakin, she does the artwork, and D turns that into a cross stitch chart. So this is the small sort of freebie chart that came with the Krampus sampler that they did in 2021, right at the end of 2021. So I started this in December, right at the beginning. If you... Luna has one of those crinkly toys, if you're hearing noises in the background. So I started this December 5th, 2021, and I finished it around the end of January. Ma'am. Now Momo's got to go see. Momo has to go see. And I've used Dinky Dye Silks, so I picked my own colors for this. And it's four Dinky Dyes colors that I have used in place of the called for DMC. And it's just super fun. I think if I remember correctly, I messed something up, but you can't tell now. And I can't remember what I messed up, so it's fine. It's all good. So yeah, that was the third finish of the year. Fourth finish of the year, Winter Cardinal Etching. This is from Heart and Hand Designs. Heart and Hand Designs. So this was originally released as this piece in Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine. Heart and Hand has since released this and 3 other similar designs as a set. They're all etchings with different animals. I think each one of them was released in a different edition of Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher, and now you can get all 4 as a set. And this is the Winter Cardinal etching, which was super fabulous. I remember that I started this in... It's hurting my arm to hold these up. I started this for February in 2021. So I started this on the 1st of February in 2021. And I remember really desperately wanting to stitch on a cardinal in January, which is, it's kind of a running thing. For some reason, me and January and cardinals all kind of tend to go together. So I really wanted to finish it in January, so I took it out right at the end of 24 hours of cross stitch and I finished it. I have stitched this on a 32 count mystery Lugana. I believe I got from a grab bag from Color and Cotton, and instead of the called for DMC, I have used, or whatever the called for was, I've used 2 colors of Color and Cotton. The red is Bing Cherry, which is my favorite red from Color and Cotton, and the brown is Caramel Brownie. I believe. Yes. Yes. According to my notes, that is what that is. So that is finish number 4. Sorry, my nose is running. Give me just one second. Of course, I have put everything on top of my mouse. Give me just one second. Okay. That was finish number 4. So finish number 5. I'm actually counting these as separate finishes, even though this was released as a full, a really big pattern where you put all the little blocks together. I'm doing these separately because I'm going to turn them into a book eventually. So this is from the Creepy Cryptid Stitch Along from the Witchy Stitcher. This is the first of the Creepy Cryptids. This is Mothman, or Moth Person. I like to call Moth Person. So this is 40 count Country Mocha. I've stitched it 1/2, and I'm using the called for DMC for the design. So there are, I think, something like 20 total cryptids because there were a couple of bonus cryptids. This is the very first one. I started this one on the 13th of January. And what I've been doing is I've been using these for my dark 13 stitching. So on the 13th of the month and the 31st of the month, if there is one, it's dark 13 stitching and you just stitch on something spooky. So I've been using my creepy cryptids as my spoopy stitching. And so generally I only work on these on the 13th or the 31st. This one I finished on February 1st. So right after that, the crinkling is is so distracting. Okay, so I finished this on February 1st. So probably I rode the wave of finishes and decided to go ahead and finish this one as well instead of waiting until the 13th of February. So this is the first of many creepy cryptids. And this is finish number 5. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so that's everything to say about that. And it's super cute. I love these. So I have a whole bunch left to go. Stitch number 6. I didn't show this on social media because I've been kind of not sure how much I wanted to talk about Plum Street samplers. Mostly because a lot of their subject matter has to do with like colonial stuff, and not glorifying, but the subject matter is just, has to do with colonial figures and colonial motifs and things like that. And I'm staying away from that. But they also have a ton of really cute stuff. And so far as I know, outside of the fact that they really do like to use a lot of colonial motifs and designs and that sort of thing. Outside of that, I don't know that they're a problematic designer. And really the colonial thing is a me thing more than it is a larger issue. I haven't noticed that they've used any designs that are harmful to any group of marginalized people or anything like that. It's just designs that I don't jive with. And they do have all of these animal trios, the animal stacks and stuff. So I've kind of decided that I'm okay with working with Plum Street and showing Plum Street, as long as I'm staying away from the more colonial and colonialized type motifs. So this is Foxview. I started stitching this, I think, in November 29th of 2020. So this was an oldie. And I got back on it and finished it on February 21st, 2022. I can't remember when I I think I started stitching it again that February and finished it on the 21st of last year because it was a WIPGO call. And so I wanted to get it done and get it out. It looks super cute. I don't remember enjoying it very much when I was stitching on it, but it looks super cute. So yeah, this is stitched on 32 count linen from Bestitch Me. I think it's Peanut is the color. And I used the called for flosses because I'd already bought them. I already owned them. Many of the flosses in this are Weeks Dye Works, which I don't use anymore. I have a number of whips, not a number. I have some whips and some things that I have kitted up that I purchased the called for weeks before all the stuff came out with them, or all the stuff fell out with them, and before I decided not to purchase them anymore. So those things that I've already started with the called for, I'm going to probably continue stitching with the called for, but I'm not buying any more of that particular kind of floss. So this is stitched in the called for, and it looks really good. But I remember not enjoying stitching it, and I think it had a lot to do with the things that go along with all the thoughts that I had about this particular the floss and the issues with the floss dyer and all that kind of stuff. But it is super cute. And I do have at least one other Plum Street sampler big design that I want to stitch, but I want to enjoy stitching it too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. But anyway, it's super cute. So this is finish number 6. Finish number 7. This one I felt so much better about. This one I loved stitching for so many reasons. So this is Purim Butterfly Mask. This is by Aya Rosen. And Purim is a Jewish holiday that, as I understand it, is pretty similar to like Halloween for the Gentiles. So Purim is a holiday where you dress up and you drink lots of alcohol and you have a good time. And I can't remember exactly what all the the meaning behind the holiday is. Like, I know that Hanukkah is the festival of lights. I can't remember what Purim is about, other than it's a party holiday. It's a party holiday where you drink and have a good time. But this was designed by Aya Rosen, if I didn't say that already. And it is a gorgeous, gorgeous design. I love it so much. I stitched most of this on stream last spring. So I started this, or not quite spring. I started this on February 24th, and I finished it before Purim. So I finished it on March 3rd, 2022. This is a 28 count Lugana that I dyed. It's a dyed, over dyed, to get this gray, which is interesting. I can't get it to stay folded on the bottom. And I used a mix of the called for DMC and some substituted color and cottons for the colors that I didn't have. And I feel bad because now I can't remember. I'm pretty sure this says something along the lines of Happy Purim. I decided to stitch it in the Hebrew to keep with the Jewish theme. Or not the Jewish theme, but to keep with the fact that it is for a Jewish holiday. So it's a really awesome design. One of many I would like to stitch from Aya Rosen. It's the only one of hers that I've had a chance to stitch so far. But I started it and finished it, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I need to decide how to fully finish it. I've had it folded like this because what I was doing when I was filming on the other side of the room is, as I would finish things, I would kind of sit them up on the shelf behind me so that my finishes were visible. But now that's very far away. So, so that was number 7, was the Purim. Now we're getting into March, starts and finishes. And March we did a Quirky Quaker Sal, where the whole point was to stitch as many Quirky Quakers as you could manage. So the next several finishes are start and finishes, not necessarily same day starts and finishes, but generally speaking, I think within the space of a week, I started and would finish a bunch of creepy cryptids. So I have not creepy cryptids, Quirky Quakers. So I have the next several are Quirky Quakers. The first finish, these are not necessarily in start order, these are in finish order. So this is my first finish. This is another piece of 32 count Lugana that I dyed. This is Quirky Quaker Mythical Creatures Sasquatch, and he is super, super cute. So it's on a piece of Lugana that I dyed, and I have used color and cottons instead of the called for DMC. Super cute. Super, super cute. These are so fun to stitch. And Deanna has so many Quirky Quakers. The next one is also from the Mythical Creatures. I stitched 3 of the 4 charts from Mythical Creatures. So this is the unicorn. Let me get her up close so you can see, because she's shiny, so she's hard to see. So this is the unicorn from the Mythical Creatures set. I've used some black metallic, as well as Silks for You Rainbow, and that's DMC White Satin for the unicorn herself. And I have stitched this on a piece of 28 count opal Lugana that I dyed, which is really washing out. You can't see the colors very well. So another Quirky Quaker. That's number 9. Number 10 is probably my favorite Quirky Quaker. I love this one so much. So this is from Quakers in the Garden. This is Sheldon, the little snail Quirky Quaker. And Sheldon is so cute. Again, I've used color and cotton. You might be sensing a theme. I really enjoy color and cotton threads. I have a lot of them because I'm in their Floss of the Month club, and I'm just in love with their threads. They're easy to work with. The colors are fantastic, and it's really easy to sub out DMC for color and cotton, I've found. So I've used a yellow and a green, and then that is Bing Cherry for the little heart there. And the variegation just worked perfectly. So, the only problem with Sheldon is that Sheldon's eye is in the wrong place. Snails don't have eyes here. And I didn't think about that when I was stitching Sheldon. So their eyes are actually on top of the little stalks. Those are not antennae, those are their eyes. So, technically speaking, I should unpick that one stitch and restitch it yellow because that's not where Sheldon's eyes belong. But it's still one of my favorite Quirky Quakers, partly because Jasmine, knitting nurse, loves snails so much, and this was one that we sewed together. So, and the fabric for this is a 32 count linen. For 2022, I was in the Fortnite Fabrics ornament cuts club, so I got 32 count linen. I have tons of these little pieces, and as you can see, an ornament cut will actually, if you're careful, you can get 4 Quirky Quakers on an ornament cut. Just so you know. So that is finish number 10. Yes, finish number 10. Finish 11. I had to redo my numbering because I had forgotten some when I made my list. This is why you should do your lists digitally and not on paper. So this is another mythical creature. This is Nessie. And I have used Hand Dye by Rolanda silks for her on a piece of 28 count Opal Lugana that I dyed. And she looks really, really pretty. So I didn't talk about finish dates on this. So Sasquatch, I started on the 15th of March and finished on the 16th of March, 2022. The Unicorn, I started on the 15th and finished on the 18th. Sheldon, I started on the 30th of March and finished on April 1st. Nessie, I started her on the 15th of March and finished her on April 7th. So I did all of those in the space of, I finished almost all of those in the space of 2 weeks in March. So next one is, where is the next one? Oh, okay. I have them out of order in my stack. I'm like, oh. The next one is another creepy cryptid. This one took me forever because I like evidently posted the picture of this along with another picture in my Instagram, so I couldn't find it. So this is the Cone of Doom. This is one of the extras for the Creepy Cryptids Stitch Along. I think you had to have been signed up for the SAL in order to get the extra. So if you purchase the design now, I don't think you get the Cone of Doom, but I could be wrong. Anyway, because, let's see, I think I started this in February. Yeah, so I started this in February. It had wings, so I decided it qualified for February. And then I finished it May 16th, 2022. So that took a couple of Dark 13 stitchings to get finished. But look, the Cone of Doom is so cute. Okay. So that is... Oh, okay. They were in order. I looked at them out of order. This is finish 13. We were supposed to do finish 12. Okay, I'm all mixed up. So they were in the correct order. This is actually the next finish on the list. So this is finish 12. Let me fold the fabric up so you can see a little bit better. This is finish 12. This is Gathering Berries by Luminous Fiber Arts. I have stitched this on 40 count mallow, which is an even weave. And I have used Bing Cherry, which is my favorite color in cotton red. I did the whole thing in Bing Cherry. I think I'll come back and put some buttons on these two flowers. That's why they're empty. They're supposed to have buttons there. And I started this in September 2020 for Season of Smalls. And I finally finished it on April 9th, 2022. I finished this on stream. So that was pretty exciting. I took 8 hours and I finished it on stream. So that one was pretty cool. And let's see. So that was 12. This is 13. Which is pretty fitting, I think, for a creepy cryptid to be finish number 13. And again, this is 40 count Country Mocha, Newcastle linen, and using the called for DMC for those. Let's see. Now is one that is that I only have a picture for. So number... Oh, wait. Wow. I should have rewritten this list. Number 14 is a model stitch that I did. So this is Rookie Wood. Okay, I'll set over here. This is a model stitch I did for Tempting Tangles. I started this in March. No, I started this in November 2021, and I finished it on June 12th, 2022. So right before I went on vacation in June. And so this is a big one. She is 179 by 179, I think. It's a fabulous design. I really, really love it. Light thickens, and the crow makes wing for the rookie wood. So this is one I fell in love with when I saw her start the stitch along, and I was like, have you got a model stitcher yet? Because I was already working with her for model stitching. And so I asked if I could do the model stitch for this, and I really, really, really loved it. I didn't love it so much at the end because as I usually do, I saved most of the stitching for closer to the deadline, or I didn't save it, but a lot of the stitching happened much, much closer to the deadline than I would have preferred. And I was, she needed it by the end of June, and I was going on vacation at the end of June, so I really needed to get it done. So there was a bit of stress at the end, but it is a really gorgeous pattern. And it now belongs to Deborah Dick over at Tempting Tangles. She is using it, as far as I know, she's using it for like market shows. Like Nashville, she'll have it in her booth so that people can see it. So you won't see it printed in the chart, unfortunately. She has her test stitchers model pictured in the charts for these, but this is the third model stitch that I have done for her. So I loved this piece. I might actually stitch it for myself again at some point because I just really love design. If I do, though, I'm going to change up some of the colors because there's a couple of colors that I'm not a huge fan of in this particular stitch. Most of the colors are just with the dinky dyes, but some not so much. So yeah, this is stitched on 32 count undyed Jobelin with dinky dyes silks. She provides the DMC and the dinky dyes conversions. She might have another type of thread conversion as well in her charts, but those are the main two. So yeah, so that's one that I finished in June. And that was finish number 14 for the year. Finish number 15 for the year is another picture. So let me show you this one. This is a teeny tiny stitch that I did. This was for the Great Twitch Burb migration. Yes, Great Twitch Burb migration. So Michelle Bendy, Michelle over at Bendy Stitchy, she put together a burb migration cross stitch swap for us last year. And the person that I was assigned to, or that I drew, was Kaylee Cross Stitch, and she does all this teeny tiny cross stitching. So I decided to try my hand at tiny cross stitching, which was really difficult for me. This is a 40 count mallow, and I stitched 1 over 1. Part of the issue for me was that my thread was actually too thin for this fabric. The thread that I was using is really probably better for 56 count or 46 count, but using it on 40 count was a little iffy. But part of it was I couldn't see the squares. I can stitch on 40 count if I'm over 2. Stitching over 1 is challenging, really, really challenging. And so this photo has a ruler in it for scale. So that entire design is less than 1 inch tall. That's how small that was. So that's the design that I sent Kaylee for the Great Twitch Burb migration. So that was a finish. I started it May 19th, and I finished it up on June 14th and then sent it out to her in the mail. So, and the thread that I used is 100 weight Invisifil, so it's super tiny thread, which was hard for me to hold in my fingers, to be honest. Let's see. And number 16 is also a picture. Because I don't have these that I'm showing you in pictures are ones that I don't have physically in my possession anymore. They have gone out to other people. Finish number 16 is the Cursed Anchor Cell. I'll lean back this way. So this is something that D of D's 20 Stitches put together. They bought this black anchor thread that was awful. My experience was not as bad as their experience. It didn't seem that bad to me, but I was only stitching with 1 strand. So it just didn't, I don't think I got the full experience of it. But because this thread was so awful, Dee decided that they would start a sampler where each person who received the sampler would stitch about 100 stitches in that black anchor thread and then send it to the next person. And you don't keep any of your bits, so you don't cut off the thread at the end. If it's enough to use for the next design, the next person can use it, can continue stitching from what you had, or it just hangs there on the back of the piece, and then the next person uses a strand, and so on and so forth until it's all gone. So the idea is to weave all of the badness into this piece, and then all of the curse will be gone. So so I received this piece sometime in June, I think. Yeah, I think I received it in June. I didn't get a chance to work on my motif until July. So I designed a little thing that sort of sprang from a larger motif that was meant to symbolize luck in sort of an Irish symbolism kind of way. So this is like a small piece of the full motif. And let's see if I can, you can't see my finger. So to the right of that D20 that's at the top center, that is my design. It's that kind of swirly doodad there. That is like a quarter of what I had actually fully designed, because I think what I actually designed was like 400 or 500 stitches, and I was only supposed to do 100 stitches. So, so I modified it slightly. I did just a quarter of the design, but I thought it looked really cool. I thought it was really fun. So I know Stitchy Naughty had already done, I think hers are the four different shape lines, the waves on the right side underneath where my motif is. I forget who else had already had it. I think Aya Rosen may have done the good luck, the evil eye Hamsa. I think that might be hers. But yeah, it had obviously already been around to a few people by the time I received it, and I put my mark on it and I sent it off. And I haven't seen it for a while, so I'm not sure where we are with it. But it was exciting to be a part of it. I enjoyed stitching on that. So I started that on July 9th and I finished it on July 9th, and then I shipped it out to the next person. And this is a piece of, I want to say it's 28 count even weave with the anchor black thread. So that is that. That was finish number 16. So now we're on to 17. So now we're on to things that I actually have in hand again. Let me take a sip. Like I said, this is not as much. This is not, I must be talking really fast. We're getting through this much more quickly than I had expected. So let me make sure I didn't stop recording at some point, because we're further along than I thought we would be, and it's only been 30 minutes. So this is finish number 17. This is To Thine Own Self Be True. This one's hard to see because the threads, the colors, I used some of, no, I didn't use the called for. What I did, so I had intended to stitch this for Pride, and I didn't quite get to it in time. So this is, you can sort of kind of see it. It's really difficult to see with the bright light. This is a piece of 40 count Newcastle linen in the colorway Anthracite, which turned out not to be quite as dark as I needed it to be for some of these colors. This design is from Park Hopper Bart. It's a freebie that you can get off of his Instagram. It's a beautiful piece. I think he reposted a picture of it. I don't know if he reposted the chart, but he reposted a picture of it right on New Year's Eve. And it's a quote from Shakespeare, and I forget what the full quote is, but it's essentially, you know, always be true to yourself. Be true to who you are at your core. So I was going to use this for a Stitch for Pride prompt. There was one that that wanted you to stitch on something with text, and this for me was very apropos. Pardon, my nose is runny. This is very apropos for the particular prompt because it, to thine own self be true. So for me, it speaks to me coming to better understandings about who I am and my different identities and how those identities mesh or don't mesh, and all that sort of stuff. And specifically during Pride, and the reason that I chose the colors that I did. So the center, to thine own self be true, the text is in rainbow for just overall pride, because I'm a queer person and I identify as queer. To friends and close folks, I can more specifically quantify what that means to me, but I've decided to no longer put a specific label on my sexuality, because I've come to an understanding that my sexuality is mine and I don't have to share it specifically in specificity with just everyone. So I now use the term queer for myself when I'm defining my sexuality, because I'm not straight, I'm queer. And if you want to know more about that, then if you're my friend, we can talk about it. And if you're not my friend, I'll decide whether you're worth my time, you know? So it's a, you know, so that's part of coming to an understanding with and for myself. And then the outer, the wreath and the flowers, and it's really, really hard to tell. But the flowers are meant to be representative of the trans pride flag, because over the last 2 years or so, I've come to the understanding that I am I'm a trans non-binary person. For most of my life, identified as a cis woman and have come to the realization that that's not actually who I have been all this time. So, to thine own self be true, for me was representative of coming to understandings about my identities and how I choose to present myself in the world and how I choose to define myself in the world, and how I define myself to me. So it was very meaningful to me. I unfortunately didn't get to do it during Pride, during Stitch for Pride, but it was a big, important deal to me. So I did do this. I finally stitched it I started it in June. So I started it on the 17th of June and I finished it on the 21st of July. So yeah, so that was a big one for me. There's a part of me that wants to stitch it again, because I feel like you can't say it enough, I think, to thine own self be true. Okay, so now we're getting into some knitting finishes. These are really, really exciting. So, as old as some of my whips for cross stitching are, I've had some really old knitting whips too. So, and now it's when we make a huge jump. So from July all the way through September, part of it is, okay, so here's the thing. Let me gather my thoughts here. Switching gears is not easy for me always. So there's been a significant shift in the kinds of stuff that I've worked on for crafting, the kinds of whips that I've been working on. I've noticed a really big downshift in my interest in cross stitching, which is not to say that I'm not cross stitching anymore. I am. I don't plan on stopping cross stitching, but my drive to cross stitch is very much different than it was at the beginning of the year. And the finish is kind of, you can, if you've been paying attention to the dates, you can kind of see. So there's tons of finishes, tons of obvious cross stitching up until June or so. And then there's this big gap. So I finished a couple of things in June and July, and then I didn't finish anything until September. Part of that is because the pieces I was working on cross stitch wise were big pieces. So I know in June I spent a lot of time on my Relentless design by Ink Circles, which is a pride pattern that I was like really stuck into for a really long time. And I thought I might finish it, but that thing is huge. As far as stitches, it's a full coverage and it's like 120 by 120. So it's got a good number of stitches. So I was stuck into that for a while, and then I got really big into, what was it? I think I decided in August I was going to do monotone stuff. So I was working on all my pieces that only have one colorway, or have just one or two colorways, instead of changing flosses and stuff a bunch. So I couldn't finish any of those because those are big pieces. I think Schnabelperkten is the smallest of those, and even it is like 200 by something. So, but the other pieces I have for that, that I was working on are like Pandemic, which is massive. It's a BAP, big ass project. and several others that were just really, really large. So I was working on pieces that were not going to get finished. So that's part of the reason for the gap. Part of the reason for the gap is less cross stitching in general. And more knitting, lots more knitting. I've been doing so much more knitting over the last 3 or 4 months compared to the beginning of the year. And that might be just because as we get towards the end of the year, it gets colder. I get really into it. I think part of it is that knitting is like my happy place for crafting because it doesn't require as much from me. I can take one bag with me and I can knit on that for hours and hours and hours. Whereas with my cross stitching, depending on what project I'm working on, I might have to have like 12 different flosses and needles and a magnifier and a light and a stand and a this and a that. Like I need all these accoutrements. And I think too, and I didn't realize this until just recently, but I think too, part of the reason that I may not have been stitching as much is because my setup has been kind of, discombobulated since I put in this desk. So once I started using this desk almost exclusively, I haven't really had a great way to comfortably stitch at the desk, which is where I do most of my stitching, especially if I'm trying to stitch on stream or stitch when I'm watching other people's streams, all that kind of stuff. So not having a comfortable place to do my stitching, I think has been a significant thing. But I think, finally have that mostly covered. If I can just figure out the lighting situation, everything will be fantastic because the lighting is still a bit of a frustration. But what I ended up doing was getting myself a Lowry stand, a little Lowry stand that I can put on the desktop that I can do my stitching on now. So fingers crossed, more stitching in 2023. There will definitely be more stitching in 2023, but I would like to do like more stitching compared to what I have done the last few months. I'm not necessarily angling for a lot of finishes because most of my whips at this point are large. I finished a lot of my smaller things last year, and I haven't started many small things that I didn't finish. So so I don't expect there to be nearly as many finishes in 2023 as there were in 2022, but we shall see. So all that being said, let's talk about the next whip or the next finish, which is finish number 18 for the year. This is Pinions by Casapinka. I started this on December 1st, 2021. It took me only a year to finish it, but this is a big one, and it's gorgeous. I love it. I love it. So let me also preface this. I have not washed or blocked any of my knitting finishes ever. Not that I don't do that, I just haven't done it yet. So don't be too scandalized, but none of my pieces are blocked because I haven't worn them, I haven't used them. I'm very much a process knitter. I enjoy the making of the thing. And then once the thing is made, I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do with it. So it still needs to be washed and blocked, but this is, look how big this is. This is actually meant to be like a poncho-y kind of situation. I think what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to, I don't know, you're supposed to bring it around somehow. And like this, I think this joins up with this corner or something. And then you have something that fits over your head. I don't know. Anyway, it's not what's going to happen for me. So, trying to show this to you. So this was meant to be a month-long knit-along in December 2021. And what I did was I actually used, I used the leftover bits from my 2020 Ruby and Roses yarn advent. And instead of knitting them in the order that I opened them, like I did the Secret Life of Cats and Dogs that I knitted during 2020, I actually put these in color order, rainbow order. So we start with these kind of like coral reds and move into the pinks, and then we do some purple, and then we do some blue, and then into the greens, and greens into yellow, brown. So, so that's the yarn. And there, I think this at the end might not be, this might be a different color. or different yarn. Because I think I ran out of Ruby and Roses and I had to use a skein of something else. So this might actually be Rebel Woolworks at the end here, but the rest of it is Ruby and Roses. And it's got all kinds of fantastic textures and things, and it's just lovely. So I don't think it has any distinction as far as like being the biggest project or being the longest project or anything like that. Because Slow Cat, I think, was actually longer than this piece. This one's wider than Slow Cat a little bit. But it's a super fun knit. And it's very squishy. So, and I guess I could use it. I mean, it's meant to be a shawl. I should block it so that I can take it to work and wear it when I get cold. So, it's kind of small for a shawl, though. Maybe it'll probably be a little bit longer when I block it, but it could keep my shoulders warm. Anyway, as I said, I'm a process more than a product knitter. And I'm kind of that way with cross stitching too. That's why, as you see, all my finishes, none of them are FFO'd. I haven't fully finished anything because I don't do the fully finishing. I just enjoy making the thing. So that is my first knitting finish for 2022 and my 18th overall finish. I'm going to set this over here. The next one is a cross stitch finish. So this was for Season of Smalls. This is from For a Friend from Hello from Liz Matthews. So this is actually a teeny tiny little postage stamp that is in the corner. I think I have the chart right here. I fell in love with this chart. This was an Autumn Expo chart. Oh, dang. I don't have the picture in here. Let me see. Well, I do have the picture in here, but I don't have it set up so that you can just see the picture. Let me do this so I don't show you the pattern. So this is the full design. I fell in love with this when it was released at Expo, so I absolutely had to get it and I had to stitch it. I do plan on stitching the full design at some point, but that little postage stamp with the crow in the corner was just perfect for Season of Smalls. I mean, nothing could be more perfect for Season of Smalls. So, so I picked that out and I stitched it, and didn't take me long to finish it. I want to say that it was a start and finish in one day, because it's a little bitty. It's a little bitty. And I'm trying to figure out how I want to fully finish this. Like, maybe I'll do a tiny little pillow out of it or something. But it's super cute. So this fabric is, let me see. This is 36 count linen from Dyeing for Cross Stitch. And I've used color and cotton conversions for everything except the black. I think the black is DMC. The other colors are color and cottons. And I started and finished this on October 2nd. So that was my Season of Smalls stitch this year. Instead of doing 10 starts and finishes, I just did the one because I was working on other things. But I love it. I love it a lot. It's one of my favorite little pieces. And that was finish 19. Finish 20 is another knitting finish. This is a much older WIP. I started this in August 11th of 2020. This, I think, was one of my first, no, it wasn't my first knit along, because I was finishing Secret Life of Cats and Dogs before I started this one. So this is also by Casapinka. This one is a big one. Look at how big. So this is with Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply. And this is just fabulous. I picked this. Hello. Ma'am, may I help you? May I help you? So I bought these yarns as a set because I wanted to kind of step outside my comfort zone, to use colors that I had not previously used. And I was in love with this blue and this pink. So the green and the brown are not colors I would have normally worked with before, but it came in the set, so I decided let's go for it. And it turned out so beautifully. Look at all the different textures. And this yarn, because it's not variegated, you can really see all those different textures, and they're just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. This one especially is really nice. Ma'am, no. That's not for you. Claws out, please. But it's got fabulous, ooh, look at that one. That's really good. Fabulous, fabulous textures. I love how the colors play together, how they work together. And there we go. There's the end. And this one is plenty long enough. Like I can do the, I can do that. How is it? Okay. I knew what I was doing until I put it on. So you fold it. Okay. You fold it before you put it on. So especially once I block it, I should be able to do this thing with it where you pull the ends through. It looks a little tight right now. But probably once I block it, it won't look quite so. So yeah, it's another finish that I need to wash and block. I'm sure Jazz is having a conniption looking at me holding up all of my knitting finishes that have not been washed or blocked. But, like I say, I haven't worn them yet because I love having knitted them. So this one's really cool. This is a big one. So as I said, I started that in August 2020. Ma'am, I finished it on October 31st, 2022. So that one took me a little bit over 2 years. Ma'am, stop. What? Can you not? This, Luna, no, ma'am, no. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it took me a little over 2 years to finish that. And, that was finish number 20 for the year. So knitting finish number 2, overall finish number 20. Let me not fold it that way. I'm trying to fold it so I can put it back away in my pile of things to be washed and blocked. So that's going to be gorgeous when it's blocked too. So I think I have an end I have to weave in somewhere. I see that there's a string hanging off. I thought all the ends were woven in, but apparently not. Okay, so that's finish number 20. Number 20. Number 21 is another one that I need to show you a picture of. So, pardon, I'm going to sneeze. Just give me a second. Goodness gracious. Oh. My nose has been so dry. The sneezing is just unreal. Okay. So this is a little stitch I did for our Xstitch collaboration. So one of the challenges, we had lots of different challenges over the course of the season for Xstitch, which is a competitive cross-stitch championship, if you can imagine such a thing. One of the challenges we had was to create a collaborative project. So to get as many people in our team involved in one project where we all put something together, was the challenge. And so this, what we decided to do was snarky things with wings. So I did this little burb again. This is the Art Nouveau burb that I did. I got it out of a book, which I meant to talk about before. So this is the book, that I got this design out of. So this is Cross Stitch Art Nouveau by Barbara Hammett. She's taken artwork from a number of different Art Nouveau artists. The cats are playing with the curtain now, so there's a lot more light in here, and I'm realizing I'm looking super pale. Hey, y'all. Momo is behind the shades, and she's like all up in the curtain. Hold on. The sun has come out and the cats are playing in the curtain. So she's not behind the shades now, but it's still like pasty now. So anyway, so I got this book, and she's taken the art from several different Art Nouveau artists and converted it to cross stitch. This particular peacock is just part of a larger design. Let me see if I can find the picture for you. Probably not, because I'm doing it live. Not live, but okay, so this is Aubrey Beardsley is the original artist, and this is the full design. So that little peacock is just part of the full design. Try to hold it over here so So you can see that little peacock is just part of the overall design. But I love that little peacock. The little peacock is just so fabulous. And so because it was meant to be a snarky one, it says, "Bitch, I'm fabulous." And so what we did was we each, as many of us as possible, we stitched a burb or other snarky thing. Jackie R, she actually stitched a cicada that says "Scream, fuck, die." It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And so we sent all of those to Michelle over at Betty Stitchy, and she made them into journal pages. And not only that, but then she bound all the journal pages together to create a journal that is just all of our stitchy things. And I'm not sure how well you can see this, but this is the journal page she created. I'm trying to use my finger to point. There we go. This is the journal page she created out of my stitch. And it's so good. So she used stickers and various embellishments that she had. I sent her some extras to use, some extra stickers and things like that. So she used some of the things that I sent, as well as just things that she had on hand. And it's so awesome. It's so awesome. And on each of these pages, she put the general area that we're from. So for me, in my case, that's Virginia in the US, but we had folks from the UK. We had folks from the Netherlands. We had obviously Ireland and Germany represented because Rachel and Heike participated. So we had all these different pages with all these different folks from different parts of the world, and Michelle put that together into this fabulous journal. And then she filmed a flip through and talked about each page, and it was just so good, so good. So yeah, so that my little burb there, I started her on the 27th of November, right after Thanksgiving, and I finished her on the 5th and then shipped that out to Michelle. And I had to pay extra money to make sure it got to her on time because my brain did not plan correctly. But it got to Michelle. She got all the things. She was able to put it together. It was a phenomenal entry. I thought we did a fantastic job. So that was very exciting. And that was finish number 21 for the year. Finish number 22 is another knitting. So I finished 3 knitting projects this year. This one is a little bit more, this is much smaller. It didn't take nearly as much time or effort to finish. So this is this design is called Stars Hollow. It's a little hat. I still have this. I have this little tail here because I need to wash and block it, and I don't want to cut that tail too short until after I've blocked it. But this is the Stars Hollow hat from Vanessa Smith Designs, and it is so cute. It is the cutest little hat. So this is the first garment, like actual. Other than a shawl, because I've made many shawls and sort of stoles and scarves and wraps and things like that. This is the first like real knitted item to wear. What is going on with that? Did I? Oh, weird. Okay. I just noticed just now, literally just now, I noticed a place where I missed pulling that piece of yarn is supposed to go, it's supposed to be held up in that stitch. I didn't do that. And I didn't see that until I held it up on camera. Anyway, it's a customization, as they say. But I knitted this. I started knitting this on November 2nd because I was waiting for Jazz's birthday to start a different knitting project, and I needed something to work on in the meantime because I had just finished the Sharon show, and I wanted to cast on something, but I wasn't ready to cast on the project for Jazz's birthday. So anyway, so I cast this on November 2nd. I finished it up on the 23rd of December. So for me, that's a really fast turnaround for a knitting project. And it actually, so the full thing looks like that, but then you fold this cuff up. This I actually have worn, even though I haven't blocked and washed and blocked it, because it's a hat and it was really cold and windy and I needed to go out, and so I put it on and I went out in public, and it's the cutest little hat. It's so cute. I'm sad now that I don't know if I can fix that now that I've noticed it. I'm gonna notice it forever, but it's super warm, it's super cozy, and it's very stylish. It's very cute. I like it a lot. So I'm very happy with it. I just need to wash and block it. and maybe it'll be cold enough that I can actually wear it again this winter. The temperature, interestingly enough, is like 60 degrees. It's January 2nd, and it's 60 degrees in Virginia. We're gonna have like 70-degree weather next week. Like, what is even happening? Anyway, so this is my Stars Hollow hat. This is a DK weight yarn. It's from a dyer that I don't purchase from anymore. But the colorway is called Joker. It's really pretty. It's actually purple and it's coming up real blue on camera, but I love the color. If you want a truer idea of the color, you can check out Instagram, because I did post pictures of this on Instagram. So that's finish number 22. So our last finish for the year for 2022, finish number 23 for 2022, is my Stitch. This is, oh, hold on. Adam is calling me. Okay. And we're back. So this is my finished Stitch piece. So Stitch is, I think I talked about it when, before it started. Stitch is a World Cross Stitch Championship challenge. It's like this whole thing. So there are a lot of different ways to participate. You can just participate by stitching the Stitch. So the top portion of this, if at first you don't succeed, that top portion is what was provided to us, and then the bottom portion is what we could either use not prefab. We could either use the finishes that were designed by Stitch, the Stitch folks, or we could make up our own. I decided to make up, I did kind of a combination. I used part of a finish that they had given us and added my own embellishments. But yeah, so you can participate just by stitching it. You can be an individual participant and just stitch it, and join in the community. You can join a team. And you can be a competitive team, or you can be just a team that hangs out and does stuff. I captained Sips and Stitches. So we were a team that was competitive, very, very competitive. If you're following Dr. Christy over at Christy's Corner Needlework, or Christy's Corner Needlework, she is very, very competitive, and thanks to her, we did one of the most fantastic things I've ever done for a challenge ever. We recreated a scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So we took the Knights Who Say Knee and we turned it into the Knights Who Say Frog. And it was, according to M, who is one of the runners of the whole thing, one of her favorite things from Stitch ever. So, yeah. So that was pretty freaking awesome. We absolutely could not have done that without Christy and her drive and her fire and her passion. That was definitely one of the highlights of the season. But we had some awesome, super fantastic people on the team this year. I'm very happy to have worked with them and hope to look forward to teaming up with them again next season. So yeah, it was, and since we're talking about Stitch, we actually finished fourth. We finished fourth place, Sips and Stitches did. Fourth out of 65 total teams, 55 of which were actually active in the competitions. So fourth out of 55 is pretty awesome, I think. But we were beat by the Screaming Beavers. The team that beat us was a Canadian team called the Screaming Beavers, and they had been running in first place for many, many weeks, which is why I decided to do my finish as, if at first you don't succeed, blame Canada. And that's why there's a beaver here, because Screaming Beavers. So yeah, that's why my finish is that. And here at the bottom, friends call me Flossmaster. Whenever I grod, I get to avoid the frogs. That is from one of our earlier challenges, where one of our team members rewrote the lyrics to the Snow Miser song, and turned it into the Bone Miser song. I think that's a public video here on my channel if you want to go check that out. It was pretty awesome. So that person not only rewrote the lyrics, but they also sang the lyrics for us. And then various members of our team stitched the lyrics. And we had that scrolling through, and we had photos and all kinds of stuff. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, so I started this, the 19th of October when Stitch started, and I finished it, right before the deadline, which was December 26th. So if at first you don't succeed, blame Canada. specifically the Screamin' Beavers, because I love my Canadian friends. I absolutely do, but the Screamin' Beavers need to go down in flames. Just saying. So next year we have it out for the Screamin' Beavers. We're gonna be gunning for them. So that is finish number 23. That is the last finish for the year. That was a lot of finishes. I had no idea. I knew I had a bunch of finishes. I did not realize I had that many finishes for the year, but that's pretty exciting. As I mentioned earlier, I'm probably not going to have that many finishes for 2023, just because reasons, for so many reasons. Part of it is I most of my whips at this point are larger whips that I just don't, without spending a month or two on each of those, I'm probably not going to get them done this year. And I just don't know. I'm not in a place right now where I feel like I can really make a lot of big stitchy plans. I'm just not in a planning place. Like last December, January, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. These are all my goals. This is, I was really into WhipGo. WhipGo is still fantastic. I don't know that I'm doing WhipGo this year. I'm just not feeling that pull to jump in on it. I think I'm going to do more open prompt kind of things. So, Natty over on, Stitchy Naughty on Instagram. She has put together a list of different themes and prompts, one for each month. Some of which were themes and prompts that she's already worked with. Some are the ones that she put together. So she's kind of compiled that all into a theme for every month, which is super awesome. You should check that out if that's something that you're looking for. Another thing that's happening this year that I am super duper into is Stitch for Pride. So Stitch for Pride 2023. This is the brainchild of Dee over at Dee's 20 Stitches, and they have a video that explains all of the things about Stitch for Pride, so you should totally check them out. Go watch that video for specific details and all that sort of stuff. But the gist is that they've put together a year-long learning and action craftivism and stitching prompt challenge for us. So each month is going to be a new learning opportunity, a new opportunity for activism and craftivism, and a new stitchy prompt, all of which is designed to educate you and keep you thinking about and supporting the 2S LGBTQIA plus community all year long, not just in June, because Pride 365 and queer all year, folks, and I'm so on board. I'm so here for it. So when they did Stitch for Pride 2022, they did it just in June, and it was a new prompt every day. It was a new learning opportunity, a new stitching prompt every single day, which was fabulous. I loved it, but I had a really hard time keeping up with it. It was a lot to do at a time that was already really, really busy. So I was disappointed in myself because I couldn't keep up with it, and disappointed because in general, I couldn't do all the things I wanted to do, excuse me. So I am very, very excited that this is going to be a year-long thing where I can do a little bit every month instead of trying to stay on top of it every single day. I'm very, very excited. The first learning opportunity and stitchy prompt and everything is already up. So the first thing we're learning about is, or the first person we're learning about is Jazz. I am Jazz, and I have followed Jazz on her TLC show for a couple of seasons now. So she's a transgendered woman now. Was a girl when they when they started the show, because she was in her mid-teens, late teens when they started the show. She's now over 18. I think she's 19 or 20 now. So she's a woman. But the show has been about her journey as a trans woman, and her family's journey, and, just kind of like all of it, and the realities that she has faced and the challenges and that kind of stuff. But specifically, the Stitch for Pride is talking about the children's book that she has published, and you can go listen to her and her family read that book on YouTube. There's a link on the Stitch for Pride calendar and all that sort of stuff, and there's several links to lists of books by trans authors that you can read to learn more or just learn about trans authors. I've already put a couple of those on my reading list for this year. I'm very, very excited about that. And then there's a stitching prompt. So, and of course the idea is to do the learning and the activism then the stitchy prompt, because the stitching is the reward for doing the work, right? We want to do the work first and then do the stitching. But yeah, so there's all sorts of fun things to do with that. So go check that out. So that's going to be one of my big focuses this year, is staying on top of Stitch for Pride 2023. And then I'm going to fill in some stitching with, I think with Nadi's prompts, and that kind of stuff, and just kind of be more free form with things this year. Because right now where my brain is at, where everything is at for me with stitching, Whip Go feels like too much pressure. Last year, it was really awesome motivation and it was direction, because I needed to have something to help me figure out what I wanted to stitch on every month. This year, I want to stitch on what I want to stitch on when I feel like stitching on it. I don't want to feel pressure behind everything. So I'm just going to be much more free form. And yeah, so that's what we have right now. This actually, now it's an hour and 10 minutes. So now that's what I expected it to be. But yeah, so the next thing on the docket as far as Flosstube and Flosstube extras, I want to film a whip parade. So hopefully that will be up for you in the next couple of weeks. I'm not going to give you a specific timeline because plans are difficult for me right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's always a lot of stuff going on. But I'm not, as much as possible, I'm not going to say X thing is going to be done at X time, because there's a lot of things I don't have control over. So, but the next thing I plan on posting whenever I get to it, is going to be a whip parade, because I need to get all of my works in progress organized. I need to get them all in a space where I can see them and figure out, what I have, what I still want to work on, what I don't want to work on. So that'll be the next step, as far as moving forward with things, and stitching in January. So look for that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, but I have no idea. Whenever it gets done. Look for that when it gets done. And yeah, so that's it for me today. I hope you're having the best day, whatever day it is that you're watching this. Hope you're having the best day, week, weekend, month that's available to you. I hope that 2023 is treating you gently so far. And I hope you enjoyed Haul Vlog. I enjoyed filming those. So I hope that was something fun for you. I do hope to do Flosstube a little bit more frequently in the new year. So we'll see how that goes. And I will see you again next time. And in the meantime, remember, as I always say, make sure to stay hydrated. Make sure to take all the meds that you need to take. And remember that you are enough. And I will see you again soon. Bye.